Thank you, everybody. Chairman Evan McMahon of the Libertarian Party of Indiana, and I'm calling this June 19th meeting of the State Central Committee to order. The time is 10:40 a.m. Madam Secretary, are you ready to call the roll?
Yep. So Evan, you're here.
Yep.
Vice Chair Lucy. I see you, so yes.
Yes.
By the way, I'll need you guys to verbalize so that, because I'm looking at another screen, so. Okay, Secretary, I'm here. Michael Schultes, Treasurer.
Present.
Political Director Jared.
Present.
IT Director Chuck.
Present.
Field Director Morgan.
Present.
Student Director Rosalind. Let's see, I don't think I saw.
She's not here.
Okay. Let's see down here. District 1, Chuck.
District 1 is present.
District 2, Elizabeth.
Present.
District 3, Christy.
Present.
District 4, still vacant. District 5, Greg.
Present.
District 6 is still vacant. District 7, Kent.
Present.
District 8, Micah.
You were muted, Micah.
Present.
Okay. District 9, Greg Hirsch.
Present.
Finance Director Rodney.
Not here.
Absent. And we have guests. Let's see. Danny, let's see. Dorn's online. Danny Lundy is our on, and Don, is it?
Don, can you please identify yourself for the record, please? And he left. So point of information, there has been somebody who has been attending our meetings. If you remember the last meeting we had, somebody logged in as Tim McGuire. It was actually not Tim McGuire. And there's been somebody who has been logging in as Don Musenhausen. It has not been Don Musenhausen. So from now on, I'm going to request that anybody who logs in with a name identifies themselves, especially since they are misrepresenting who they are. Madam Secretary, I will also ask for you to note in the minutes that Region Rep Dustin Nana will be joining us for his LNC report and for other items on the agenda, but he is not here until about 11:30. Did everybody receive in their email the 3 documents that I sent out: the agenda, the bylaws amendment proposal, and the copy of the Connecticut resolution? Yes. Okay, good. Are there any additions or changes or anything to the agenda that anybody would like to make? Then without objection, I move that we accept the agenda as presented. Okay. A second. Hearing no objection, the agenda is passed. Appointment of a timekeeper. Lucy, you're so good at it. Okay, perfect. She accepted while muted. I believe she stays muted because, for the record, Dorn is in the background, screaming and yelling, as he does.
We are in separate houses, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm in the she shed and Dorn is back at the house.
That's how I would do it too.
Marriages last longer if you live apart. Just saying.
Okay, so reports of officers. I'm going to start off by saying I am very under the weather. I have a cold chill. I've been working in my house down in my basement, and when I pulled down some of the ceiling in my basement, I discovered not just mouse poop, not just rat poop, but petrified raccoon poop too. And since then, I have not been feeling good. So I'm not saying I have the hantavirus, but I think I have the hantavirus. So I've just not been feeling good today. And I wasn't feeling good yesterday, which is part of, I did sit through the executive committee for the LNC on Tuesday evening. And I sat through the LNC meeting last night. And I may try to catch, depending on how long I stay at Mr. Hall's birthday party tonight, I may try to catch the continuation of the LNC meeting in their investigative committee that they're setting up, but I may not too. Let's see, I've been working with the national IT team, which we'll talk a little bit more in the IT section or in the Civi CRM section under projects. There are some updates there. Some good things have happened. Working with Morgan and Chuck Hagerman on getting them looped in, getting some things working. There have been some recent developments that have given caution or pause. I have secured an additional $10,000 in funding from list brokers for our data sales. Those checks are imminent. They actually may already be in the post office box. But so those are on the way, if not already received. So that's an additional 10 grand. Been meeting with a couple of donors. Mr. Rutherford has been setting up additional meetings for me. Went down to the Vanderburg Super Saturday event, and I will let Mr. Hayes from the 8th District talk more about that. I believe both myself and Lucy are planning on going to the July 10th event, which was originally supposed to be the District 7 Super Saturday event, but Lawrence County in the 9th District has a huge event with bands and beer tents and food trucks and games and prizes and all kinds of, like, I think they have a bonfire. I don't know, I might be making that up, but they have a lot of stuff going on. And so we're going to go down to that instead. And we're rescheduling the 7th District Super Saturday for a different time. I also attended the 7th District, Marion County, had a meet and greet. And it was very well attended. And I would say at least 50% of the people there were not party members, were brand new. So it was a great event, and I encourage other counties to do a similar event. It wasn't a policy thing; it was just a socializer. Just come meet your local libertarians. It's a very well attended event. I will say that only one person was there specifically for the free drinks and food. Everybody else that was there to meet, excuse me, libertarians. I'm sorry. Been working on the website. There's other projects that you're going to see on the list that we've been working with or working on to make things a little bit easier. We are going to start doing the one-on-one training here within the next 2 weeks for county chairs. The region reps, most everybody attended that. I think Mr. Nolan was the only one who didn't. And we're going to schedule some time for me and Mr. Nolan to get caught up on that. But I think everybody else attended. I think Chuck Poland actually didn't attend either. But so we'll work on that and get those knocked out. Mr. Haynes is already using it to his benefit and helping his counties in the district. So with that, I think that's all I've got for my chair's report for now. Are there any questions? I'm going to hold off on making any statements about the LNC or the New Hampshire situation, or for those of you who don't know, the national chairman also resigned on Friday. As an inside, I have been asked by several state chairs to put my name forward to serve out the remainder of the term for national chair. I had seriously considered it, and even though people that I respect have said that they think that I would be a good fit for that role right now, in the moment that we're in with the National Party, I've officially declined in any role at the LNC, including any potential committee that may be populated for investigations. I just want to stay focused on Indiana. And my only concern with those are as the affiliate chair. That's it. And so with that, I'll pass to the secretary.
Not much going on my end. Summer's a busy time for our family. I did send out the meeting minutes for the last 2 meetings for everybody to look over. Please let me know what needs to be corrected because I do make mistakes. Any other questions?
I did review both. I did not see any issues. Mr. Morgan or Mr. Rigg, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, speaking of corrections, but to the Secretary, I do need to point out a need for correction. On page 2 of the minutes from the May meeting, you refer to the District 1 representative as Cuck. Now, I'm pretty sure that his name is Chuck, not Cuck, and I'm pretty sure he does not, by any definition that is known to me, is in any way a cuck. So I know that you didn't make that on purpose. I'm sure you just cucked it up.
Yes, I did do that. So I will correct that. Thank you.
I am not at all insulted, and it definitely wouldn't be the first time.
Would you, Mr. Poland, would you like to file an official grievance against the secretary?
I would not.
Okay.
I was going to say, isn't there like
I would like to just, she is a hardworking secretary, and I appreciate, and like she said, no one is perfect, and I appreciate all of her hard work.
Mr. Schulteis.
I'm not seeing it right now, but on one of the minutes, it said that there was an adjournment for a break, and I believe that should be a recess rather than an adjournment.
Okay, I'll fix that too.
With those 2 corrections, is there any objection to adopting the minutes as amended? Okay, hearing no objection, those minutes are officially adopted with those corrections. Alyssa, if you can send those with those corrections, please.
I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Schulteis.
As of yesterday, across all of our accounts, we have a balance of $47,780.64. Including accounts payable, we have an available balance of $44,970.64. That is artificially high since we do not have our agreed upon payment of $5,000 to the data analytics company. Our first payment of that has already been taken care of, but we still owe $4,583.33. So our actual available balance is $40,387.31, barring any additional pre-authorized expenses that are not included in accounts payable.
I would like to note, Mr. Chair, or Mr. Schulteis, Mr. Treasurer, that my credit card expires this month.
I'm aware of that. I'll be working with the bank to make sure our address is updated, and we'll get that taken care of.
I do believe my name still needs to be added to the account too.
Yes, I've been trying to arrange that with the bank downtown. I'll try with a local branch closer to me, so we can at least get that taken care of.
Ms. Avery?
Has the money for the triple memberships to the counties been taken out of that yet and sent or whatever?
Not
No.
yet. We have paid national, but we have not yet dispersed funds to the counties. So subtract $10.
I believe it should be about 80 members. So that would be about $800 due to the counties.
Yes.
Let's just say 1,000. for right now, just for expediency that we, it's about $1,000. And Mr. Schulteis, I would actually like to get that taken care of before the end of the month.
Okay. Do we have any reports in Civi that'll let me
Yes.
know who needs to be dispersed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I can take care of that as soon as I get those reports.
Okay. I would also note that our LNC membership number had us at 583, I believe, in the last report. And the reason for that big jump was because that was the LNC was not processing our triple member information. There was several back and forths, and then finally, they finally started doing it. It was kind of ridiculous. I kept sending the report, and they kept rejecting the report, and then we set up an automatic report that goes right to them from Civi CRM. It gets emailed to them, and it's the exact same information I was sending in the exact same format. Everything is exactly the same, but now all of a sudden it's perfectly okay. But they do not like our program. They want us to join their membership program, and based off of how long it takes national to process things, I really don't want to do that. Or at least we can participate in it, but it shouldn't be our only mechanism. We should have our own program within Indiana. So from Indiana up, they can do from national down if they want to, but we need to have our own program. But so I believe by the end of the month, we will have hit 601 National Party members. On June 1st, we had an additional 7, because it's always going to be 30 days behind, because they get the report on June 1st for what was done in May for the triple member program. So those 7 that we added in May did not get added to that report for how many national members we have. But so I believe by the end of the month, we will have gone over 600. Any other questions for Mr. Schulteis? Vice Chair, Lucy.
Vice Chair, yes. Hello, everyone. Vice Chair's report. I basically did a couple of speeches this month. I appeared and was able to put in a plug, for us at a medical freedom rally at IU. That was a lot of fun since we spoke literally in the downpouring rain. And then the following Saturday, we had a very well-attended meeting downtown Indianapolis, standing up for the medical individual freedom of people that are IU healthcare and other healthcare workers across Indiana. We received both local and national press coverage in that. Dorn keeps a reputation alert, on my name and stuff. And it was even written up in Forbes. So that was pretty cool. We'll be talking later if we have time about the convention. I noticed that's got 0 minutes in there, but I met with Greg and Danny. That was very helpful this month. Yeah, kind of a slow month. What have you guys got going on? Any questions for me?
Convention has 5 minutes.
Cool.
It's the only committee that has any minutes.
Okay, it was 0 on mine. I'll update it here. No questions for me?
Hold on, stop the time for a second.
Okay, paused.
If everybody else can look at their agenda, do you have 5 minutes for convention 2022? Does everybody else have that?
Yes.
Okay, well, Lucy is the one that got the ridiculous one then.
Yeah. Mine says
Are you
0.
sure you're looking at reports of committees? And then 5 minutes?
Yeah, I'm just looking at SCC agenda with today's date, and it says 0 for Lucy, 0 for Clay on veterans, 0 for Sam on staff, 0 for our office.
That's weird.
Maybe mine just hasn't updated and you changed it or something. Let me hit the
Okay.
refresh button. No, I still show 0. Weird.
Okay, well, you have 5 minutes on convention committee.
Cool. All right, I'll restart the timer. Anybody got any questions for me?
All right, if there are no questions for Lucy, recognize Dustin Nana, our Region 3 rep on the LNC, for his 5-minute, did I put that? Yeah, 5-minute LNC report. Mr. Nana.
Give me 1 second. The vet actually just walked in. I'm at the vet with my
Okay.
dog, so you guys want to come right back to me?
We'll actually come back to you if there's not an objection. Does anybody object to proceeding with the calendar and then coming back to Mr. Nana in a second? Okay, hearing no objection to that. I'm going to talk about communications for a second. So, you know, I like to send out press releases. I like to get stuff from everybody. Please make sure you're sending me stuff in a timely manner. Also, as part of the social media team, I got an app called Plannable, which is a program that allows both myself and Christy, who's part of the social media team, we have access to all of our social media accounts. If Morgan is given access to that as a content creator, he can create and schedule posts on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, but they have to be approved by either me or Christy before they are published live. With that, Kenneth Fitzlaff from Vigo County has stepped up and is scheduling 5 or 6 posts a day for us to review and then post to the social webs, the internets of things. That's been going really well. He's been doing a great job. I've only had to make a couple of corrections or, you know, just I think I toned one thing down, but he's doing a fantastic job doing that. And it takes the burden off of me and Christy to try to continue to come up with content every day. But so with that, it prevents somebody from hijacking our social media accounts or our Facebook page or us losing control over it. Because it's if you add somebody to a Facebook page or your YouTube account, they can ultimately remove you from it. So this kind of prevents that by making sure that a district rep and an officer are always the people who have that control over it. But we're giving our members the ability to be part of the process for creating social media content. And I really like that. Mr. Nana, are you ready? Okay, he's not. So Mr. Hall, would you like to give your 5-minute political report? If you're talking, Mr. Hall, you are muted. Jared. Jared. Okay, Mr. Nana, go ahead. Jared doesn't seem to be responding.
It's yeah. So this is for just the LNC report portion, right? Okay. Well, I'm sure as all of you are aware, there's some craziness going on at the national level right now. There's a lot of animosity between some folks on the board, which I'm doing my best to not participate in. But the I guess the business that's going on right now is that there is a motion on the floor to suspend the secretary for decorum violations and other various violations that people perceive to have made all of our jobs harder. Last night we had a meeting to discuss the New Hampshire situation, and we actually had another meeting earlier in the week for the same thing, but that was a DC meeting. This one was with the full board last night. We had a lot of public comment, listened to a lot of people, and then we have not finished a motion yet. I like to think we're close to finishing a motion. We have another meeting at 9 p.m. tonight to continue this work. Basically, the gist of it is right now as it's written, there's going to be a 3-person committee named by the LNC. Nobody from the LNC will be on this committee. But outside of that, as far as I understand, it could be anybody. Couldn't tell you who it's going to be. I have no idea your guess is as good as mine. My personal position on it all will be to listen to the chairs and see what they think. Outside of that, I think the people that should be on the committee should be pretty divorced from the situation entirely. That might be hard to do, but I think if we try, we can get it done. Unfortunately, there's been some resignations from the board this morning. Francis Went resigned yesterday, and as I'm sure you all know, the chair resigned, JBH resigned, somebody else resigned too, and I honestly can't even remember. So it's gotten, unfortunately, it's gotten kind of ugly.
What are the reasons for the resignations, if you would comment?
Sure. So Francis said that he felt like there was a witch hunt going on, essentially. I guess would be the best way to put it. He has a resignation letter on the public list. I don't want to speak on his behalf too much, but basically he felt that there was a witch hunt coming and that he didn't want to take part in it. I guess the chairs were lining up to vote on whether or not to retain his services as the representative. And he decided to just get out in front of that and just not deal with it. I told him personally, I wish you wouldn't. I wish you'd stay and force the vote, because you never know the people that are filling these contact forms out on the public list. You know, they're not always the pulse of the party. They're just the angriest. But unfortunately, he did decide to resign this morning. As far as JBH is concerned, I believe his reasoning was that he felt that the party had gotten too toxic for him to be able to effectively chair the organization. He felt that the LP was coddling bad actors and that he didn't want to be a part of that anymore. He also has a letter out on Facebook and on the public list explaining his reasonings. And, I can't say I disagree with the toxic behavior stuff, but, I wish he wouldn't have resigned. It was a pleasure serving with him. I think he was doing a great job up until he resigned. So I'm sad to see all of this going on. I really was hopeful that this board wouldn't devolve into this. I thought that maybe we would all get along. It seemed to be really cordial up until, honestly, this past week. I don't know what was brewing behind the scenes, because honestly, I try not to take part in those conversations. I'm just here to represent the region and move the party forward. I'm here to get people elected and change policy, which is one of the reasons why I really like you guys in Indiana, because that seems to be all you are ever focused on. So, but I guess if there are any specific questions, I'd be open to taking them. I'm sure I'm forgetting something.
I'm going to take this opportunity to make a couple of comments. I actually had a meeting with, at the request of the Mises Caucus chapter here in Indiana, on Wednesday or Thursday evening. I think it was Thursday evening. And talked to them kind of about what was going on and what my position was on everything. Me as an individual, as their leader, not necessarily the LPIN's position. And we'll get into kind of that positioning later down there in new business when we actually talk about the LNC. But I supported JBH for chair. I think a lot of us did. I was disappointed in some of the things that I saw JBH do, from his handling of staff, which I hope one day is brought to the public, and down to the gutting of the funding of the CRM in favor of supporting the Frontier Project, which I am a fan of the idea of the Frontier Project, which is where the national party selects one or two candidates that they put some resources behind and help them get elected. Marshall Burke was elected to the Wyoming legislature through that program. However, if you are gutting the thing that the parties need, the affiliates need to be successful in their state, so that you could go run a couple of candidates in one other state, that to me is criminal, and was very upsetting to me. There were other things that I saw the chairman do that were very upsetting to me as an affiliate. I think that it was, when you take a shot and you do something, and I'm not ascribing whether or not JBH was actually implicitly involved in the New Hampshire scandal or not. I don't know the facts of that. I don't think anybody does, and there's been a lot of hyperbole. But if that is something that happens and you take that shot and you miss, you don't run away. And I feel like that's what happened, which has thrown the party into even more turmoil. The whole thing is very upsetting from how, I mean, I think everybody in this room knows that I'm not a fan of the messaging that came from New Hampshire. I'm not a fan of some of the tactics that they were claiming they were going to implement. But those were claims. They weren't things that they actually had done. They hadn't not run libertarians and endorsed Republicans. It was just being said that they might. Well, until they do, it's a pre-crime. And then so for the chair to unilaterally remove the XCOM over removing a member, that she presided over that vote and did not rule that motion out of order. She just abstained from the vote. It's upsetting. And when people ask me what my position is on New Hampshire and their edgelord postings, my response is always, that's New Hampshire. If you don't like it, move to New Hampshire, join their affiliate, and vote for new leadership. This is Indiana. What they do in their affiliate is their business. What we do here is our business. But with that, we want the LNC to stay out of what we're doing. Back in 2012, when Andy Horning ended up beating the spread, so to speak, and National put out a press release saying that Andy Horning was a proud spoiler against the Republican candidate, that damaged us. And we told him, don't do that. Stay out of it. This is not your affiliate. I feel the same way. They should have stayed out of New Hampshire until somebody came to them and said, we have a problem. We need the Judicial Committee to resolve it. It's been very upsetting to watch all of this happening. I know we have a bloodletting every 10 years or so. We have these things happen. This is probably the worst I've ever seen or heard about. And it's unfortunate. And I don't think we're anywhere near it being over. The thing that gives me strength and hope is that at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to impact us here in Indiana, other than we'll go back to being less involved with National. We've been there before. We've done it before. We'll just keep doing what we're doing here. Is my opinion on that. But it is disappointing to see a lot of people resign and move away. Do you have anything else, Mr. Nuna?
No, like I said, happy to take questions. You expanded upon the New Hampshire situation with my exact understanding. And, but that said, I still wish these people weren't resigning. I still wish that we could just work it out like adults and do the work of the party. But I'm going to do my best to make sure that's what happens from my end. Really, that's all I can control at the end of the day.
Mr. Nolan, you have a question?
Yes, has the board voted to accept Joe's resignation?
From my understanding, the way the LNC operates, we don't have to vote to accept resignations. So his resignation is effective whenever he decides it's effective. I'm always glad to be corrected, but I'm fairly certain that is the case.
It is. Having served on the LNC and resigned from my position on the LNC, resignation is at the discretion of the individual. There's no vote on it. But now, the new interesting thing is and I had to explain this to a couple other people. Ken Molman, who is the national vice chair, is the acting chair right now. He is filling in the duties for the chair until they appoint a new chair from the LNC. So the LNC will nominate and vote on a new chair. And it could be Ken, in which case that would create a vacancy in the vice chair, and then they'd have to select a new vice chair. But my understanding is I don't believe he's also interested in that. No, Dorn, I believe that they just have to be a party member. So it could be that's, I mean, I had been asked by multiple people and declined to do so. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Nana? Okay, Mr. Nana, we will put you in reserve until later in the agenda, towards the end. If you want to go, I'm sorry, everybody, it's all that raccoon poop. If you want to, Jeff Neal was actually a name that was floated to me by somebody who was fairly new to the party and just knew that he was a previous chair. Yeah. But if you just want to hang out for a little bit, we'll come back to you towards the end of the thing. Mr. Hall, are you finally with us, sir? Can somebody message or text Jared and remind him that he's supposed to be speaking? Oh, there he is. Yes. It's time for your 5 minutes for your political report, Mr. Hall. We cannot hear you if you're speaking, but you are unmuted. Now you are muted.
Marco.
Yeah, he was here for a second. Okay, well, we will come back to Mr. Hall then. Mr. Rigg, are you prepared for your field director report?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am ready. I only have one particular item, has to do with the Super Saturday events. Like the chair, I did participate in the Super Saturday event that the 8th District was hosting in Evansville 1 week ago. I will certainly defer to Mr. Haynes as far as the details behind that. I will note I am deeply thankful to the 8th District Party and also the Vanderburgh County Party for holding the event. I did have a good time despite the heat, and of course also some of the rather shall we say disagreeable trash that I had to pick up. It was pretty disgusting. The only other item I have as far as Super Saturdays go is that I have spoken briefly with the representative for District 3, Ms. Avery, about the Super Saturday event being scheduled for our district in August. And that's all I have to say. If you have any questions or if there's anything that I have left out of my report, please let me know.
I believe you are also looking for volunteers to be calling people about their membership. Yes.
I need a few volunteers to help out for that. If you know anybody in your districts that would like to help, I would appreciate it. I also need volunteers for future in-person meetings of the SCC to live stream the meetings. I need 2 of them. Those 2 need to agree to be there for every in-person SCC meeting. Let's see, there is also, I also will be planning, I've been assigned to also find a location in Park County for an upcoming Libertarian event. It's going to be taking place sometime in July. And that is what I have. My apologies for not including that in my initial report. In my defense, I wasn't sure if that was something I should reveal because that was mentioned to me during the last director's call. I was not comfortable about, just revealing all that right here. So my apologies, Mr. Chair.
That is fine.
Time.
That is okay.
Time. Good job.
Going down to Mr. Hall, are you back on? Jared.
Hey, this is Chuck. Can I ask a question of Morgan?
Sure.
Morgan? Hey, so we're working with Porter County for the September event. Would it be easier just to set up a call with the 3 of us, with UI and the Porter County chair, to start working on that, planning for that?
That would be great. That would be
Okay.
great.
I'll reach out to him and we'll get in touch.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Mr. Hall, are you able to speak yet? No. Okay. Finance, the reason why I'm listed under finance is to inform everybody that Mr. Benneker has resigned from his position as finance director. It was actually very interesting. He wanted to focus more on his business and what he was doing, and didn't feel like he was providing enough benefit to us, and wanted to shift that little portion of time that he was doing onto being able to do other things for his business and for his family. And then that evening, his house got hit by a really bad storm and destroyed basically all the work that he had been doing on the property the last 2 years to build new fences and things like that, and new gardens all got wiped out in one storm later that evening. So he did need the time. He just didn't realize he was going to be needing that time as much. I am not going to be in a hurry to fill that position. My experience has been that it's basically been falling on me as the chair to do that. And for right now, I think it should probably just stay that way. I may ask Morgan to assist me in a couple of things, and I'm sure that he will step up and do them. I'm also going to be doing individualized fundraising with each of the district reps. So that'll be coming as well. Any questions about that?
Do we owe Mr. Banker anything for his services?
No, sir. Membership, I had talked about that. Lori has actually agreed to work with me on developing the graphic for the member card, because we have not sent out our membership cards yet. Please let your members know if they are asking when they're going to be getting those things, that it's in the works. It's a process, but they will get them eventually. Mr. Hagerman, did you have a question?
No.
Okay. Students, I am actually kind of concerned. We have not heard from Rosalind in over a month. She has not been attending the directors' meetings. She's also been MIA in her county and with her district. Nobody has been able to get in contact with her or to hear from her. So it's very concerning. I just hope that, she's okay and everything is all right. She was in the process of moving and finishing her degree. So she may have just decided to take a little break. But so I'll keep trying to hear from her on it, just to see that she's okay, and then to get reconnected. IT, Mr. Hagerman.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I've updated the LPIN wiki page. I'm trying to take over keeping the Elpedia page up to date, but I've not been able to get in recently, so I'll have to look into that. I've been attending the Civi CRM training with Evan. I just want to kind of say a little something about why Evan is so passionate about Civi CRM. It's more than just a database where we keep track of all our members. It's also the driving force behind all of our volunteers. And it's not the easiest thing to use for our volunteers. And so everything that we can do to make that a seamless process will make it easier to get our volunteers in and working for us and keep them engaged. I recently got access to Civi CRM myself and attended training with Evan, and I will be taking over the reconciliation of payments that are being made in Wild Apricot and having those documented in Civi CRM starting on Monday. Outside of my role as tech director, I've also been working as a member of the redistricting committee with Jeff Marr. And so we have gotten through all of the, we've done the congressional district, the Senate districts, and we're working on the House districts. And I've turned those maps in, and it's looking really good. We are focusing on things other than keeping everything in parity. We're focusing on school districts and counties and that sort of thing. So, and that's the end of my report.
Just as a general question to the board, or just general information, I purchased a website, rethinkredistricting.com and .org and .net and I think .tv, which actually, if for those of you who remember, it was actually Rikita's program when he was Secretary of State. He had the Rethink Redistricting, and apparently they didn't keep the domain name, so I got it. Jeff Moore has been spearheading. I kind of just put him in charge of creating a redistricting plan, what the Libertarian response would be, including maps, and to create a system so that when we get the data from the 2020 census, that it can just be plugged in. And this is what we believe is the fair and equitable mapping system. He's been working on that with Chuck Hagerman and a couple other people. They should be finished up with that very, very soon. I think the goal is by the middle of July that will be completed. Would the board like to have a presentation by that group prior to it going live?
I would. I'm curious.
If I can get if you would be interested in that, can you hit the hand raise button? Just as a polling. Okay, so we may make it a separate meeting then, a informational meeting, because it only looks like a couple people are actually interested in that. Oops, sorry, Alyssa, did not mean to ask to unmute you. So we'll just do an informational meeting that everybody can attend, but it won't be a formal meeting. Okay, moving on. Are there any other questions for Chuck? By the way, from this moment on, if you have any questions or issues, excluding Mr. Nolan and Mr. Poland, if you have any questions about Civi or are having any problems, please direct them to tech@lpin.org and Mr. Hagerman. And if Chuck has a problem, he can come to me with it. But please now take Civi questions to Chuck Hagerman. Moving on. Convention 2022, Lucy, you have 5 minutes.
Cool, let me set myself up for 5 minutes here. Okay, so this month I met with Greg Nolan and Danny, and it was amazing, great meeting. We actually lost the Zoom at one point, and so we discussed doing this by FaceTime. I want to express continued thanks to Danny for his willingness to help, to be a resource. We created a document folder for Convention 2022. By the way, you, Mr. Chair, should have just been invited to that, along with Morgan and Christy and Chuck Pullen. All of you are actually on the committee in various roles and should have access to that. Danny has uploaded a treasure trove of information on what he and Lori did with last year. It's extremely well organized and well thought out, and I'm grateful for that. I've been doing a lot of research on other conventions, not just with Libertarian conventions, but others, to find what best practices and really kind of fun things we can do leading up to the convention. I want to start getting engagement with that now. So I've got some ideas on that. And oh, I did reach out to Fishers. I'm trying to meet that request you have, Mr. Chair, of within the next 15 days or so, having some sort of proposal from Fishers. I've looking at dates in March because going over my notes, I didn't see what dates we're actually working on for 2022. So if someone has the information, can refresh my memory, that would be great. I've just asked Fishers for what their availability is for all of the weekends in March, not knowing what we might look like. So that's what I've done this month. I've also got a couple things that I want to float past all of you. One is getting sponsorships in right now and trying to really create a lot of dollar value and income through the sponsorships. One of my ideas was to identify sponsors now and allow them to start on maybe even a payment plan of $50 a month or $100 a month. Maybe there are sponsors that we can get who would be able to participate if they were given longer time to pay. So that was one thing. Also, I would like to have an MC at this event, and I've got a couple of ideas for MC, but actually my first choice would be Chris Spangle. So I wanted to float that idea out here and see if there's any objection to that, if anybody has any feedback. So what do y'all think?
First, yeah, the goal is sometime in March, a weekend in March, and see what the availability is and what the costs are. We also need to start working on a convention theme as well, which will help with the sponsorship. I do think that this is kind of why I wanted it to be settled before the end of July, is so that we can start selling sponsorships as well as getting ticketing information out there way ahead of time. Let's give everybody the opportunity to be way ahead of the game. I will, as far as an MC during the business meeting, I don't think it's appropriate to have an MC, but the rest of the convention is perfectly fine. I don't know if Chris Spangle would do that, but I more than welcome you to reach out to him and ask him if he would be interested in doing it. I like Mr. Britton put in the comments that maybe we should have a theme contest. I like that idea, that we should come up with, take nominations for a theme contest, put up a donation page, and whatever theme gets the most votes becomes the, or receives the most dollars becomes our official theme, with our approval of the nominations as well. So we have the total say on whether or not something is offensive or inappropriate or goes against our messaging. Then we can say no to that. But otherwise, let the members decide what the theme contest should be and let them do it in the free market way. That is exactly how we got Tanstoffel for the 2020 National Convention. It was through the theme contest. And I believe the Reno theme contest was done exactly the same way. I just can't remember what it is. Miss Avery, you had your hand up first, I believe. I saw you raise your hand. Are we out of time?
Sorry, typing in the chat. When she said MC, my thoughts immediately went to the adorable Rob Kendall. So now I'm going to We Are Libertarians L, or you have to edit this out. Thank you.
I've always been a Chris Spangle fan, and with his previous position as executive director of the party and the work that he's doing, I think he's a pretty big celebritarian and could actually pull more people in.
Mr. Rick.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree. I think Chris would be a great choice for MC. But if in the event that Chris does not agree to it, I would make another suggestion for MC, Abdul Hakim Shabazz. I believe we've had, I mean, he's been to some of our conventions in the past. I think he would do a good job himself.
I love it. He's taken us to task. We are at time. I would like to make a motion to add another 1 minute onto this in case anybody has any questions.
Without objection, move to extend the convention time by 5 minutes. If we don't use all 5 minutes, that's fine. But Hearing no objection, time is extended on this item by 5 minutes. I will say that Mr. Shabazz has been actually basically an MC of a previous convention of the LPIN before, and it was quite fun, quite interesting. While he is not one of us, he is supportive of us most of the time. I think what might be interesting is instead of just having a theme contest, maybe we have an MC contest too. That might we could see if they'd be interested in doing that, especially with those giant-sized egos that they all seem to have. They're going to want to push that, and I don't necessarily think that that should be something where you're donating money to the party. Right. We come up with some other what they call social proof to show that this is who our members would want as the official MC. That might be interesting.
Yeah, I absolutely love that idea. I think it also gives us an into going to Libertarians and getting us on their podcast again. Mm-hmm. Evan, would you be interested in being on some more podcasts? I can book myself and you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Kenneth Fitzlaff is in charge of booking me on podcasts.
Okay.
So get with him. Are there any other questions or comments about the 2022 convention? Mr. Poland, I see a clap. I don't know if that was you clapping or asking.
Isn't that a hand raise? I can't tell.
It's a clap.
It's a hand raise. Okay. Anyway, one of the things I was thinking about is we have enough time. Would we consider trying to reach out to let's call them a celebrity libertarian to be our MC? And also, basically we have a whole group of people, and people come to mind like Drew Carey, for instance. I know it will be expensive, but I think it would be an interesting draw, or we can do it virtually.
Woody Harrelson. That's the only person I could think of that I like more than Chris.
There's a whole group. There's like Drew Carey, Woody Harrelson. I'm trying to think of, there's a whole host of I personally like Dr. Drew Pinsky. He's sort of a libertarian, but doesn't talk about it much. I'd love to have, him speak sometime. There's a lot of sort of celebrity libertarians, and we have the technology to bring them in virtually to sort of host or MC or whatever, if we didn't want to fly them in.
I think instead of MCing, maybe having them as a speaker at the banquet is more likely and probably a better fit. Mr. Rigg, I will tell you that Kurt Russell, an organization that I work with in the film industry, has been trying to get him to attend a fan convention for over a decade. And the last amount of money they offered him was $200,000, and he said no. He does not do public appearances, period. He doesn't even do movie tours. If you think back to when he was in the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 as Ego, he did not do the press junket. He doesn't do them. He just doesn't. It's part of his contracts. He does not. He hates the public. And that's his right. Like, he's big enough, he can make those calls. But I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And there was actually a convention that said that they had booked him. And a lot of us were so excited. Then we were buying tickets to go, and then we found out that it was a scam.
My favorite is John Stossel.
Yeah, I like John Stossel too.
And he has been in Indiana before for a couple of other events, never with us. A lot of these guys, it comes down to you have to pay them a speaker's fee, as well as the ability for them to sell their merch. Like with Stossel, it was his book, the one that I gave to the auction. I think it was No They Can't, or No They Didn't, or something like that. But so that's, let's put out a list. Gary Oldman is not going in public. He's not doing anything in public. Whoever put that out there, I just saw Gary Oldman. Adam Carolla has a lot of baggage with him. Not necessarily somebody that I would put on that list of wanting to be a speaker at our state party convention.
I think she's saying that they're a package deal, because I said Dr. Drew kind of speaks of being libertarian. Adam's a little bit more Republican.
Yeah. But these are good conversations to have, very interesting things for us to consider. The other thing to note is that it does increase the prices dramatically. I think Drew Carey is like 15 grand to come to an event. And also he can only be there for Saturday during the day because he has to go back to Burbank Sunday so that he can start taping on Monday. So it's, yeah,
And
these are, keep thinking. Most any celebrity, I can get information on their agents and their
Cool.
representatives. So especially if they've ever been in film, I can probably track them down and find
That's
out
awesome.
who their publicist is and their booking agent for public speaking.
Cool. We are at time. So please send me your suggestions via email as they pop up into your brain. I really appreciate it.
Okay, so let's move down the line to district reports. District 1, Mr. Pullen.
We have nothing really to report. Like we just talked about earlier about planning the Super Saturday for September. And there's been some discussion in my county about having like a barbecue or maybe working with the other district and having a district-wide barbecue or something like that. So that's one of the things that we've kind of been kicking around, is always looking for things outside the box instead of regular meetings. That's about it.
Okay, District 2, Ms. Coquillard.
Not too much to report from District 2. We're also going to be pinning down our Super Saturday at the end of this month. Marshall County is planning on doing a Labor Day parade. And I've just been really helping Cassie with her new affiliate in Kosciuszko and getting that going. But other than that, that's about it.
I would like to point out that Kosciuszko is in the 3rd district. Just an FYI.
Yeah, I know.
I know you guys are your friends and everything and what have you, but just for the official record, Kosciuszko is in the 3rd district. Any questions for Ms. Coquillard? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Avery in the aforementioned 3rd district. Any other counties being stolen from you?
I think Kosciuszko is one of those counties that's split between the 2 districts, but I actually get it. So I'm more than happy to let her help me. Let's see, for communication, Ryan and Whitley County have started putting together an email list. So that's encouraging. Field, we have Whitley and Kosciuszko that are participating in their community's first Friday tabling events. I think Kosciuszko is doing it in July and Whitley is probably doing it in August because Ryan and Whitley has been doing a lot of traveling for work, so he's not around for the July event. Allen County is going to be in the New Haven July 4th parade on July the 3rd. If anyone wants to come out and participate in the parade, I would be more than happy to arrange that. I know in the past we've had some people from Henry County that have come and marched with us in parades, and we took a prize. No pressure. Cassie is working on her Super Saturday event, and it sounds like there might be something maybe with a band, maybe a cookout. So that sounds like a lot of fun. Let's see. Political, Ryan is considering running for a local office next year. And I think Morgan and Jason in DeKalb and Allen County are also considering running, but I haven't really heard anything recently about that. I went to a meeting in Whitley County and they're just talking about how to grow their party and things like that. It's still just the 2 members that were originally there when they affiliated. So kind of like crickets a little bit, but maybe with the tabling events and if he announces his run for office, that might increase things. There's also a gathering scheduled for next Saturday for the LPIN corridor connection, which is people along the I-69 corridor. We've been trying to get together for a while. We're finally going to do it this Saturday. It's in Grant County, so I'm encroaching on another district as well. And there's a Facebook event for that. So anybody who is interested in attending that next Saturday for lunchtime, look it up or let me know and I will hook you up. Evan, is there a way that people who submit reports ahead of time could get those sent out with the agenda perhaps?
Yeah, that was actually my plan, and I had wanted to do it. And when I chastised everybody for not sending them on time at the last meeting, my intention was to send them out with the agenda, but I was sick and just didn't feel like doing it. So, yeah, but that is the thing that I want to do, as long as people are sending them in on time. So next month, the agenda will go out on Thursday evening along with any of the district reports, because Christy actually did a great district report. I believe the 9th district did as well. Were well typed out. The 8th district did, but I didn't get it until this morning. But so yes. Can you send us information about next Saturday's event, the date, time, location, everything, as well as information on being in the participating with you in the 4th of July parade?
Where do you want that sent? You want that with Plannerly or where do you want it?
No, just send it to, like, email me the details.
Okay, there is a Facebook link for the event Saturday on my report,
Okay, perfect.
but I'll work on one for the parade too.
Okay, Mr.
Yeah, we're
Schultheis?
over time.
I have some information for the 5th district, but I'll let our representative speak first.
Okay, yep. Why don't we wait till we get to the 5th district? Jump ahead, Mr. McGee. And actually, now we're on the 5th district. Mr. Nolan.
Go ahead, Michael.
I'm the secretary of the Hamilton County Party. We do have several events coming up in the near future. We were approved to have a booth at the Carmel Freedom Fest on July 4th and July 5th. That we are currently looking for LPIN members to help us staff our booth. And I've also been involved in scouting for a number of years and have access to a Pinewood racetrack. We're trying to set up a race to raise money for the Hamilton County Party and are looking for a location to hold the race. We're likely partnering with other county parties in the area since we may not be able to find a suitable location in Hamilton County itself.
I just have a question about that, if you don't mind, Mr. Nolan. How much access do you have to that Pine race, and how many cars does it hold?
The track I have is a duplicate track that is not being used by my son's current pack, so I assume I have full access to it. It's a 42-foot track and I have the software to run the race, so we could have any number of cars in the race.
So is it a 1 car at a time type of thing, or is it?
No, it's got 4 lanes, so you
Okay.
have any number of entries and then they run on each lane.
Gotcha.
Have the track.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Because I just had a wicked cool idea that I'll do some work on and then come with you, but we're totally going to use that now. Mr.
Pinewood
Nolan.
Derby is a registered trademark of Boy Scouts of America, so we're trying to be careful not to use that specific phrase. But
That's
we're
okay.
saying that
We don't have
Oh,
to.
the
We can
word.
call it block of wood adult race car.
that seems fine.
Time.
Move to extend without objection by 2 minutes so that Mr. Nolan can actually give his report. Hearing no objection, Mr. Nolan, please continue with your report.
The only other county that I've heard from is Grant County, and they're not doing too much. They're looking at an outreach at the motorcycle rally in Marion. They're trying to work on, and Clayton's been invaluable in setting up the multi-party I-69 corridor connection as a kind of a inter member junket thing that that, Christy talked about earlier. And so that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nolan. Mr. Williams, 7th District.
Yes, as you mentioned, the Libertarian Party of Marion County had a get-together in place of our typical June meeting. So as I mentioned before, every other month is going to be a sort of a social outreach get-together type event. That would mean that in July, the upcoming meeting will be a regular business meeting, but that's a way to sort of keep things interesting and increase our interest in membership. But there's not been a whole lot other to report since then. And the actual July meeting is still to be determined. So
for your Super Saturday event, I need to look at the calendar here. I think this would work. Let me triple check before I tell you this. How about December 11th?
yes, that is what I have recorded.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So Morgan, if you can note that the 7th District has been moved to December 11th. Okay, any questions for Mr. Williams on the 7th District? Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Haynes for the 8th District.
All right, hello, can everybody hear me? All right, well, I am on my way to an event right now, but in the 8th, over the last month since the last meeting, we've had an increase of 9 members to a total of, according to the record, 128. And a lot of that is also due to having better access to the city CRM to be allowed to contact and stay in contact with local members, keep them updated, active at events. In terms of events, we've had 5 over the past month, including a food bank and a presence at the local Pride event here at Guardian Park in Evansville. Last week we had the District Super Saturday, which went really well. We had 20 volunteers show up, a handful of randoms coming in and asking questions and donating. Had some arguments and some weird people too, just like any event, but overall it's a great time. We did a good thing for the community. We've had good success with our Liberty and Chill every month in Evansville, and we are working on expanding that to at least Vigo and Knox and maybe Du Bois. As far as finance, officially we raised $6,325 for the rifle raffle in total, and that's gone into paying for event stuff and supplies and equipment, everything like that. And we are already working on our next one that we're going to start hopefully with a July 4th gun show in Evansville, and we're looking at other places that we can be and engage the community and support the Second Amendment and all that. With communications, like I said, with the Civi CRM, we are doing better at getting information about members and things to the local affiliates and staying in contact with them. And, unless there are other questions, I think that completes my report.
Did you notice or see that I sent you this morning the gaming license that was just sent to me? Apparently.
Yes, I saw it just before I got on the highway.
Okay, so you're good to go for your next raffle. Any questions for Mr. Haynes? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Hirsch in the 9th.
Okay, last Saturday I attended the Lawrence County. They had their monthly meetup in Bedford, Indiana at Smokehouse Barbecue. And of course, the main discussion was the big July 10th Super Saturday event coming up, which will be in downtown Bedford. Donald Raywater will be speaking. I'll even be speaking for a bit. And of course, Tanya Millis, be a great time. So really looking forward to that, getting plans ironed out to be really promoting it. Okay, then moving along, Washington County is not having a booth at their 4-H fair because of lingering COVID restrictions, such as you can't like have people manning the booth in person and crap like that. They're also going to do a race for the cure relay headed up by Tom Brown, and they got a couple of new members that are joining the Washington County Party. Back at home in Clark and Floyd counties, we're planning on doing the July 4th parade in Jeffersonville and getting the float ready. We'll have a booth at Sellersburg Celebrates, which we do every year. Johnson County, a couple of weeks ago, hosted a booth at the Pride Festival, which I also attended. Morgan County came and helped out with that. It was a really great event. And Morgan County, Morgan County, they raised $3,000 so far. For this year, they raised $3,000 so far. They've given out some onboarding kits to their members. Their upcoming events, they're going to be doing a Madison County Freedom Festival event on July 3rd, Old Settlers event on August 8th to 10th, the Monrovia Festival September 10th to 12th, Evidence Harvest Festival on September 11th, and Fall Foliage October 7th through 10th. And they've increased their social media following. And also, they attended a public hearing for the sign ordinance. That's an ongoing legal thing with their town council. And let's see, they had an amendment that died for lack of a second. And so that's my report there. Unless, Danny, if you want to fill in on anything from Morgan County since you're here at the meeting.
Without objection from the body, recognize Mr. Lundy to speak about what's going on in Morgan County. Mr. Lundy, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, no, that's pretty much everything. The big thing there was the sign ordinance side, the amendment side, the lack of second. Otherwise, yeah, that's us.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lundy. If you couldn't hear him, he said that it died for lack of a second, the amendment at the town council meeting, which thoroughly enraged several people that it was brought up and then they just didn't even bother to vote on it. They just killed it.
We're at time.
Just by my own indulgence, I will let the body know that Morgan County, as well as myself as the chair of the LPIN, have been talking to legal counsel, and put that in your back of your head that there's a potential that we are going to be talking about filing a lawsuit, a First Amendment lawsuit against the city of, or the town of Mooresville, and working with the Morgan County Party to do that. Okay, so that is it for district reports. This is a moment for a 10-minute break. Does everybody want to take the 10-minute break, or do we want to skip the 10-minute break?
Yep.
Sounds like everybody wants to take the 10-minute break. Okay, so we will recess for 10 minutes. I will pause the recording. The time is 12:08 and we are returning from our recess. Next item on the agenda is under projects, the CTA. We've done 2 CTAs, and that stands for call to action. We have great software for that. We did up in, was it Hammond, Indiana, First Amendment for the first district. Somebody being harassed by their local mobster mayor over having a quote offensive sign for flag in their yard. And then we also did it with the Morgan County on the sign ordinance. While neither one of those were successful, our success is that it did spur contacts, it did spur communication. There were a lot of people that were involved in it. The Mooresville Town Council is now considering having professional town email addresses because they were very angry at the number of emails they were getting to their personal email accounts. I do believe that the 2 counties that we did CTAs in were very happy with that process and how it helped them with their issue. I would ask you to please, for your counties, for your district, for your causes, please, let's have more CTAs going. You know, you can work with me on that. If you have something going on, let's get a CTA rocking and rolling. Mr. Lundy, recognize you for a question.
Well, I just wanted to point out that we had a planning commission member delete his email so that he wouldn't have to get any more emails from the public.
Yes, because that's the way you do it. You just delete your email account. Okay, so I'm gonna just move on ahead to the LPIN Academy and Open Project. The LPIN Academy is still working. Again, my intent is by the middle of July to have that completely up and running, full of content and the ability for county chairs to sign up for it. I would like to talk to Mr. Schulteis about creating the training program for treasurers. We have a new thing called Open Project, which is basically a task management system that is completely hosted by us. Mr. Schulteis set it up on our server so that we can access it. My intent is to create a space for every committee, every director, every district, and to allow access for each county so that they can create their own workspaces where they can have task lists for, we've got a 4th of July parade coming up. What are all of the things that we need to do? And who's assigned to each thing? So that is there. It is not up and running yet. I'm going to set up examples of it within the state. And then I'm probably going to pick a county like Morgan and Monroe to be my quote test cases, and then roll it out to the rest of the counties from there. So those are 2 things that are going on. Reserve the balance of time to be moved to the Civi CRM issue. That's great that you're using Asana. You know, this is free for the state, for the county parties, and also keeps everything in one centralized location, but it also allows us to be able to take, like, if there's something that's crossing over into another district or something that's part of the state party, then they can all be connected together in a more seamless manner. But you guys are still free to use whatever you want on the county level. Civi CRM, I've been kind of battling with the national admin team over some lack of functionality. We've been getting that worked on and turned on. Right now, district reps cannot send a scheduled email through CiviMail. You've got to send them 50 people at a time. And Mr. Haynes can attest to the fact that he just did that by 900 people at 50 at a time. And you have to recreate the email each time. It is annoying. I've had this conversation with the admin team. It's a permission level thing. And I said, listen, as the state chair, if I'm saying I want my district reps to be able to email everybody in their district, that's all that matters. And he agreed. So we are going to be turning that on. He's got to write a specific variable permission for the district reps to be able to do that. Text, we have the ability. Pennsylvania was using Civi CRM to send automated text messages to people, localized, you know, the same way we would do an email. I can send it to you on the county level, the district level, the statewide level. I'm working with them. That has not been turned on for any other state. I threw a fit and said, how are you going to turn something on for one state and not turn it on for Indiana? Don't you know, we are the best. So I did get that turned on. It's going to cost us, we have to keep a reserve of like $20 in the text message queue, but each text message literally costs 0.00275 per text message. So $20 is going to last us a while because I don't anticipate us using it a whole lot. I am the only one that will have access to it. That was one of the conditions of having it turned on, is I'll be the only one that can have access to it. So if there's a text message you would like sent out, please let me know, and let me know who you want it targeted to, and then I will proof and create that text message to go out. That will start working next week. I anticipate next Friday it being officially turned on. LNC, and there's a lot more time for this topic, the LNC and the CRM. One of the issues that happened in New Hampshire was that in New Hampshire, they have what's called the previous chair, which the previous chair is kept within their systems and is basically an advisor to the committee. The previous chair in that role with the current chair, Ms. Jarvis, removed access to the CRM for the entire XCOM. And then they claimed that they were starting a new organization, a new state affiliate, separate from that group. That affiliate, that XCOM, went to their judicial committee and got a ruling on that, saying that it was inappropriate. And then they actually voted to remove the chair of New Hampshire. In that process, they appointed a new chair, or elected a new chair through their XCOM, and then they requested access to the CRM be reestablished for the XCOM and the new chair. National decided not to do that. National was directed to not give anybody access. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with, if I removed access for all of you and then kicked you all off the board, which would be in violation of our bylaws, and then you went to our judicial committee, which we don't have, see item in new business, and got my actions overturned, National would say, well, we're not giving you access to the CRM either until this is fully adjudicated. Well, what if this was right before our state convention? And then we can't verify membership, we can't verify packages, we wouldn't be able to do anything. I can see how this could be really, really bad. As such, talking to a couple other state chairs, apparently all of the changes and suggestions and stuff that has been done to Civi CRM for the state affiliates is under an open source licensing. So when the National Party has paid to fix the call next dashlet, it was part of an open source agreement. So all of that is public. We've been talking about each state setting up their own Civi CRM instance as a backup. Keeping it still connected to National so that we have the push-pull that we have now with our data, but being able to quickly flip a switch and restore access if need be. I don't think that there's a cost burden with that, but I want to work with Mr. Schulteis to see about doing that, about setting that up and and I would also like to set it up and test it to make sure that it is basically exactly the same. And then I don't want to spend any money on it unless Mr. Schulteis says we need new server space or something like that, in which case we'll come back and ask for an appropriation for that. But it is something that is concerning to me that National could do that, or that National could tomorrow, let's say the state chair hates us because we didn't back whatever, or the national chair hates us because we didn't back whatever thing he wanted, and they turn off the access. Or let's say, JBH wanted to gut funding to the CRM. What if he gutted it so bad that it failed? and collapsed, we would be screwed. So I'd like to have a backup. Mr. Schulteis.
We have run Civic CRM on our own in the past, and it was not super performant. So I would just need to work with Chuck Hagerman and yourself on the resources we would want to dedicate to this backup. But I do stress that it is very prudent for us to host our own infrastructure wherever possible, even if it's just as a backup, because who knows what funding wise or other rogue actors might do to access that is critical to our state party.
Speaking to that specifically, also, there are limitations to things that we are allowed to do with Civi through national. So we can't add the entire SOS record to our Civi install because it's like 5 million records. We specifically can only do the SOS information for our members and contacts, and that is it. And in talking to them, they said, well, we can have a separate system that operates similarly, but it's just the voter data, voter pool. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, let's do that. Well, now they've told us they can't help us with that because they're not authorized to do that by the national party. And I'm like, okay, if it was our own instance, we could do that. We could have all of the SOS records for the entire state in there and merge that with our membership data. And then we can use our text banking system, our phone banking system. All of those things would be able to be used in that one system. Does that make sense, everybody? Avery, looking at you. Does that make sense? I don't know. Mr. Nolan, I feel like you have something you want to say.
Yeah, given a repeat of what happened in New Hampshire, where the principals shut down access, would they not be able to also shut down access of the state stuff also, and thereby we wouldn't achieve our goal if we had an incident like they had in New Hampshire? Am I thinking wrong, or?
So there are access keys that can be created so that you can create into those systems a backup that allows other people to be able to access the system in the event people are shut out. Those things do happen. I mean, ultimately, it would probably be like, how much do you trust Michael Schulteis as being like the person who would have the most level of access to be able to reinstate people. Yes, it is true. But I see a lot of potential for national. One, all of the people who became national members that were updated as being national members in the program that National uses is called Razor's Edge. So they use Razor's Edge and Civi CRM. It took a month for them to process all 73 of our triple members, and that got updated June 1st. As of right now, none of those people are listed in Civi CRM as National Party members and won't be until the end of the month because the Civi team is a month behind the national team, who is a month behind our reports. So those things would also get sped up a lot more because we would only be relying on the data dump that National puts out every month, which Chuck Hagerman's going to be so thrilled with that. We do back up.
I've dealt with it before.
Dorn, we do back up our member data regularly. I do exports just about every other week. And actually, I was doing it because that's a good process to do. But now I'm really glad that I've been doing that.
Are we going to start causing problems where we have to like we used to have to do, clean up their records versus our records all the time if you start doing that?
No, because the problem that we had with Wild Apricot was there was only one membership type in Wild Apricot, or you could only have one membership type in Wild Apricot and some of the other previous systems. With our system, you can have multiple membership types that are all independent of each other. So like you're a lifetime member in Indiana, your membership will never expire. But under the old system, if your 1994 society membership failed, it would literally say you weren't a member anymore. Even if you missed 1 month out of 5 years, it would say, oh, you're not a member. That doesn't happen anymore because there's different classifications of membership. National membership is just one of those other tiers of membership. And so it's just updating those already existing records. The new records of new people, that's a little bit different and has to be imported in a little bit different way. But it's really easy to parse those out in the data dump. I'm not really asking for anything right now, just letting you guys know that this is a concern and it's something that I'm going to dedicate a little bit of my time to. And I'm going to pull Chuck and Michael and probably Danny into making sure that we have a backup plan. And also, to be quite honest, I do like the idea of us just kind of pulling away a little bit so that we can do the things that we want to do that they're not letting us do, like importing the entire SOS record. We are not allowed to do that. They will not do it. They will only import the record for members and contacts. I tried to tell them that the entire SOS record was our list of contacts, but they didn't believe me. Any other questions or comments about that? Cool. Okay, well, moving on.
Evan, I do have one thing.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Is there reasoning that it costs that much more to store that data on the server?
No, it's because it's a multi-site system. So there are 22 other state parties and the national party that are all on one server that are all connected to each other. So like I can send an email to all of the state chairs around the country through CiviCRM because we're all connected to each other. So if we put in millions of records, it will actually slow it down for every other state. That's why they won't do it. Because then if we do it, then every state's going to want to do it. And then it's going to take 10 minutes to log in. If it was just us, just our state alone, we wouldn't see any difference in our login or processing time. Because we would be at the record capacity of what we're at right now with all of the states combined. It'd be roughly about the same. Okay, hearing no other questions, moving on. Mr. Pullen, would you like to talk about the HR policy, sir?
Well, so here's what I have been thinking about since you presented your document on the Judicial Committee. Would it make more sense to roll these into one, or basically have the HR, basically what we're calling sort of the HR or sort of the grievance committee be an offshoot of your committee? Would that make more sense to have one group as opposed to two? Assuming, neither group should need to meet or have, much responsibility other than its forming.
Well, first, I'm going to screen share your proposal here. I think I haven't read it, so I hope it's in order.
Yeah, I hope it is too. But it's basically just sort of this is sort of a boilerplate that we've pulled and kind of gone over as sort of, this is more of a draft or a template to get some feedback on. But essentially, let's remind people its initial purpose was should we run into a scenario, this is going back several years, should we run into a scenario where, you know, let's say one person feels they are being harassed by another person, or someone's, you know, I guess that's sort of always been the question, is what would be the guidelines of this, when this committee would come into play. But essentially it's to, you know, have a mechanism if someone feels that they are being harassed in one way or the other, or, you know, in that matter, a member, an employee, a volunteer, what have you.
So reading this, the role of the Judicial Committee would not be to rule on matters of harassment. That would still be and there is you've got the formation of an committee in here, an HR committee, which is I think good. The Judicial Committee would specifically be tasked with handling rulings made by the State Central Committee. So if we removed a member for violating the HR policy, or if we removed an officer or disaffiliated a county, that person then could then take that to the Judicial Committee.
Okay, and that's what I was just kind of wondering is how the two committees, how the two committees would be intertwined essentially, and what that process would be.
I think they would be separate until that there was an action. And if that person wanted to appeal whatever the action was, they would take that to the Judicial Committee.
Okay.
Such as if I called you an inappropriate name and you got uppity about it and decided to file a complaint, and I removed you from the board because of it, that would be an HR violation. It'd also be a bylaws violation, in which case you would go to
retaliation as well, though.
Right. And then you would go to the Judicial Committee with it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, I think that would be, I think that's an appropriate mechanism. I think that's the right way to address that.
Has everybody had a chance to read the HR policy? Do you have an action that you'd like to take on this, Mr. Pollan?
Well, and I guess that's the question is, do we want to have everybody kind of read back on this and get back to me some feedback? Again, you know, I'm considering this sort of a draft. We've talked about the legalities of this. Should it go to a HR consultant? You know, again, I don't know that part of things. I do know that this basically came from sort of one of those LegalZoom type sites as a boilerplate for any sort of organization. So it's not something that we just, you know, concocted on our own. Okay.
So what I'm hearing is you're not asking for an action on this right now?
I mean, if there's no objection, we can move it forward and adopt it, or do we want more time to review it and bring it back up in person next month? I mean, I know there's a lot going on otherwise, and I don't want to, you know, kind of overwhelm everybody with this on top of everything else we've got to deal with today.
Yeah, I'd really like to have a council look it over. Someone that's familiar with this kind of law.
Yeah, maybe that's next course of action, is to have it reviewed. If we don't have any changes we'd like to make, then we can, you know, basically have it reviewed and then bring it back next month.
Time.
Move to extend without objection for 3 minutes. Okay, hearing no objection. Mr. Morgan?
Thank you,
Mr.
Chair.
Rigg?
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. I'll keep reminding you if I have to. I have seen the document that Mr. Pollan submitted. I do not have any questions about it. I don't see anything wrong with it, but I also think it would be wise to just have someone who is knowledgeable about HR policy have a look over it before it's formally adopted by the SCC.
Okay, Mr. Schulteis?
Skimming through it, I see that the complaint procedure, if you have a complaint, you're reporting to the entire central committee. Is that the desired goal, or are we running subset of the committee taking complaints.
That probably does need to be addressed because I don't think it should probably go to the entire committee until there's been a recommendation made by a smaller committee. That would be my recommendation. I will work on this based off the language that was sent today and make some changes, and then I will send that out to the board. And if the board agrees, then I'll take it to Mark Rutherford for his review and then his analysis, and then have it come back.
And then
Mr.
also,
Nolan.
Evan.
Hold on, please, Mr. Poland, Mr. Nolan.
I'm, with all due respect, I'm not sure that Rutherford's the right guy. I don't know that he deals in HR law. I'd like somebody more versed in that area than him to take a look at it, if you don't mind.
We will need to pay for that then.
Okay.
So I would say we need to get this policy done. We are in a liability situation here. We've been trying to get it done for months.
We need to do it right.
So I'm going to ask you then, I will submit it to you, the changes that I make, and ask you to look up and contact people and get quotes on representation.
Well, and Evan, that was going to be my next point. Was I do have an HR consultant in Terre Haute. I wanted to get, basically, once we have made any changes, I want to submit that to her if with everyone's permission, to get her feedback on it, to say, you know, if she has someone she can recommend to us, or I don't know if she's in a position where she can give us that kind. I know she's like certified as an HR, so I don't know enough about her position if she can give us feedback like that, or if she'd recommend somebody. So that was going to be my next course of action, with everyone's permission to, you know, disseminate this.
Mr. Nolan, do you mind if we go through Mr. Poland for that?
That would be fine. I think. I don't know the qualifications of this HR person. Some of my fears are that by putting a policy like this in place, that we actually open ourselves up to more liability than we currently have if we don't follow this in some way. And we need to make sure that we're not setting ourselves up for more liability exposure by having this policy, and whatever it happens to say in it, if it's not followed to the letter. And there's more to this than just having a policy in place, is what I'm trying to help understand.
Understood. I will also state that the liability that's out there currently right now could bankrupt the party by not having any policy, by not having any mechanism at all. We could be in.
Typically, that's not the case. Typically, your liability falls if you have a policy and don't follow it. There's a lot of leeway given to organizations that don't have a policy, because you haven't violated anything.
Yeah. Time's up on this issue. So unless you would like to extend time on it.
Nope.
Okay. Mr. Poland, you're instructed to please, I'll make my recommendations, and then if you can contact your consultant and either get pricing for review of the policy, and then we can present it to the board for a vote.
You got it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If I get a copy of that also, please. I'm on the committee.
Okay, so 50th Gala, has everybody picked their individual person that they're giving their ticket to? First District, Mr. Poland.
I'll be honest, I missed out on this discussion about the 50th. So I missed that part.
We bought tickets for one ticket for each currently represented district for you to give to somebody as a recognition and reward for their work. It cannot be you or your spouse or your children. But to give them one ticket to, if they're able to go to the 50th anniversary in Colorado.
Okay. I do. So can we email you that name in a day or two? I have
Yes.
1 or 2 people in mind. I'll
Yep.
find out if they're available. Okay. Thank you.
District 2, Elizabeth?
No, I haven't found anybody that wants to go.
Okay. District 3, Christy?
Pretty much the same as District 2, but I'm still trying. But I'm drying up on leads.
Okay. District 5, Mr. Nolan?
Ditto.
Okay. District 7, Mr. Williams?
Yes, I have not yet found anyone, no.
District 8?
Well, I had given you a name previously, and maybe we should talk about that. But if that name doesn't work, then I have other possibles.
Okay. District 9, Mr. Hirsch?
I do not have a name yet, but I want to have one by the end of this weekend.
Okay, perfect. Please, everybody, we've already paid for them. Let's try to get them rocking and rolling. So yeah. Fundraising SCC. Essentially, this is going to be a continuing thing. It's always going to be on there as an unfinished business, as well as LPIN events. We'd set a goal for each district to bring in $100 a month. Just trying to figure out what time. Okay. To bring in $100 a month, so that we bring in $900. Well, I guess not 900, but $700 a month currently in revenue each month, just from the districts. I've been doing pretty good about hitting my goal. So if you need any help or assistance or direction, please let me know. We can work on that together. LPIN events, a couple of items. One, Park County, which is where Montezuma, Indiana is, which is one of the 3 places that has weird off-year elections. We have like no contacts in Park County, not even members, just not even any contacts. And I'd like to change that. So I'm proposing having a July cookout, free event for people to come. We advertise it in Park County. Mr. Morgan is working on finding a location for, I believe, the last weekend in July, so that we can hold that type of event. I would ask for, I'm sorry?
Okay, here's Indiana.
Do you not know where you are, Mr. Nolan? You are in Indiana. I would ask for a budget of $250 to procure. Well, let me ask, Mr. Morgan, do you think that would be enough, or does it need to be a little bit more to do beverages and burgers and chips and whatnot?
I'm inclined to think that should be enough to cover if we're talking just drinks and snacks.
Okay.
I don't see it as impossible for me to be able to procure what's needed for that.
Thank you, Mr. Rigg and Ms. Avery. I believe Mr. Haynes might have some insight into this. Mr. Haynes?
Yeah, being that it's in the fringes of the 8th district, of course, the district can help with, volunteers and possibly some money going into making this a good event. But yeah, there's like no one, not even like officially on the record, and no one that me or people even in Vigo County know that I'm aware of. But I love this idea. I'd love to help on it and bring Vigo and other local affiliates in on it too.
How much did the event that we just did, the Super Saturday, minus the tent and the supplies for like cleaning supplies, but just how much did the event for like the food and beverage cost?
About $115, everything considered.
Okay. I'm always gonna assume a little bit more, just in case. So I'd like to put these types of events at a budget of $250 for materials, food and whatnot, but then an additional $100 for advertising on Facebook. So I would ask for $350 in funding for a July event in Park County.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Ms. Avery
Second.
and seconded by Lucy. Give me 1 second. Because I don't think, Alyssa, you're not taking notes right now, are you? Ms. Salgado? You're muted if you're speaking.
Sorry, I'm driving. No, so I'm not taking notes. I apologize.
Okay. Moved by Christine. Any discussion? Okay.
I don't know if you said it. I was just going to ask, what kind of like area are you looking for doing this, like a park?
Yeah, we're looking at a public park with like a shelter house.
Okay, I'll be in contact with Mr. Rigg on that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do you guys want to do a roll call vote on this? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. The motion is to spend $350, $250 on materials, $100 on Facebook advertising for a July event in Park County. Ms. Vice Chair, Ms. Brinton.
Aye.
Give me 1 second, actually, I was totally not ready. Okay, Treasurer, Mr. Schulteis.
Aye.
Secretary, Ms. Salgado.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna do Political Director, Mr. Hall, who is not actually here. Absent. Field Director, Mr. Rigg.
Aye.
IT Director, Mr. Hagerman.
Aye.
District 1, Mr. Pullen.
District 1, aye.
District 2, Ms. Coquillard.
Aye.
District 3, Ms. Avery.
Aye.
District 5, Mr. Nolan.
Abstain.
Okay, District 7, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
District 8, Mr. Haynes.
Aye.
District 9, Mr. Hirsch.
Aye.
Okay, so that is, I'm going to vote present. Says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That is 11 yeses and 1 abstention, so that passes. You will need a dissenting vote. So noted, Mr. Brenton. Another thing that came up that I would like for us to consider, the 8th district, I believe in stealing things from the things that work and making them ours. So the 8th district has they have one and they're getting a second really nice pop-up tent that is branded with the LPIN. The top of it is branded, it has the logo, the URL on it, and then it has a backdrop wall that is also branded for the state party. We have a cheap pop-up tent, and to be honest, I don't know where it is. It is not in the storage unit. I went to the storage unit and it's not there. So I don't know if somebody else has it. I know in the past, we've used something that the 7th district that Marion County had, but I don't even think they know where theirs is now. So I would like for us to consider getting a couple of those from the same place that Micah Haynes got them for the 8th district. Mr. Schulteis.
For the Carmel event that Hamilton County is holding, our vice chair purchased a pop-up tent that is not branded with the state party logo or anything, but that will be another tent that may be available for future events.
Thank you, sir. I'd like for us to get a couple of branded ones. I think it's a good expense for us to have, especially if we have something at like a fall festival, which I'm going to be pushing heavily that we attend some fall festivals. You know, anywhere that we can set it up where it's just automatically branded, you know, just it makes us look a little bit better and a little bit professional. I would ask Mr. Haynes, what was the final purchase price for those, including taxes and shipping?
That was, I want to say 1451, but I can check here in a second and give you an exact figure.
That's what I remember talking to your district team about that, and that was the number that I believe I was given, was 1451 as well. I think we have a pretty good reserve of cash. We also have an additional $10,000 that's coming in, which may actually already be in the mailbox as it is right now. I'd like for us to get a couple of these. Is anybody strongly opposed to us getting a couple of those?
These
Mr.
are
Nolan.
these are over $1,400
They're $1,451
with shipping.
Yeah,
with tax and shipping and the tent and the metal frame and the rolly bag, kind of the total set that we have now, it all comes to 1451.
and they're really, really nice. I don't know if you've seen them, but they're
This
really,
one has lasted us 5 years and it looks as good as the day we bought it.
And when you guys got it, it was $1,200 originally, but now their prices have gone up, and now it's the $1,451.
Right, it went up about $100 because 12 something was what it was without taxes and shipping.
Mr. Schulteis, you had your hand up, or somebody
It's
did.
already been addressed. I was looking through past email. I see 1273.20, but that does not have a shipping or tax added. So that's already been addressed.
Right.
Did you have anything additional, Mr. Nolan?
If we do this, since we've lost the last one, we probably need some kind of process for checkout and return or some, before I will vote for something that expensive to be just lost again.
So we actually do have the ability to record assets in Civi CRM. So I can actually say if a county chair has checked something out like that, we can record it that it's being used by the county party, and we can actually record the date that it was returned.
And who will be put in charge of that?
Me, because I'm imagining that I'll probably be the one responsible for making sure that it is in the storage unit.
You need something else to do, Evan.
I don't mind. I honestly, don't mind things like that. That's a 10-minute thing of somebody saying, hey, I'd like to request this for our event. And me saying, cool, come get it, yo. And then me logging into the CRM, which there's a pretty good bet that I'm already logged in. And so it'd be a lot easier. Eventually, I'm not proposing this today because this would be too costly. But eventually, I would like for every district to have their own. And for you people to be responsible for loaning it out to your counties until your counties have their own that's branded for their local county party. Mr. Hagerman, I'm going to mute you. Miss Avery, you had your hand up.
I was just gonna say, perhaps if we had like 3 or 4 that we were gonna purchase, having them in, different parts of the state might be helpful. But yeah, I think the district reps should be responsible for that. If they have one in their area, that should be their job.
I would go out on a limb and I would say that Morgan County is probably going to get their own because, they're the best county in the state, according to them. The 8th district has one, is in the process of getting their second one. So I don't think they'll ever need to borrow one from us. And I think if Morgan County has one in the 9th district, and there are 2 in the 8th district, that there's a possibility the 9th district can use the 8th district's other one. So we're really kind of talking about the 7th, the 5th, the 3rd, the 2nd, and the 1st for right now. Does that make sense? But I would like to be able to at some point have enough that in the event every district has an event going on the same weekend, we have enough pop-up tents for every district plus the state fair. Because by the way, from what I'm hearing about the booth rentals at the state fair, which I do not support doing because it's the same price with a limited schedule and limited capacity. It's the same price. And I don't even think we can actually get on the list, as a matter of fact. But they're shifting to outdoor tables and events for people, especially informational booths are being shifted to outdoors. So that's something to also consider in the future. And it does not look like that's going to be a policy that's going to be reverted anytime soon. It looks like that's going to be a policy they're going to be working towards from here on out. Christy, you were saying 3. Is that the number that you would like to propose? Getting 3 of them?
Sure, 3 sounds good.
What do you guys think? Just opening it up for just general discussion before a motion.
That's almost $5,000. I think that's a lot of money for something that will sit 90% of the time not being used.
What's the lead time on getting these? Because there's the idea of maybe starting with one, getting some utility and some photo opportunities. And then as we have more events where we're going to need more than one at a time, I think Greg's right. That's a pretty big chunk. Maybe we could do some specific fundraising for just this.
Mr. Haynes, what's the lead time?
We ordered ours officially last Monday and it is supposed to be here July 6th at the latest. And that's after communicating with them about details about the tent and everything.
There's a lot of stuff going on for July. We have a lot of other events going on. I'd at least like to get 2.
I would support
one or two is very wise. I mean, even here in just the district, we're popping this up almost every weekend, if not every other weekend. And I think at a state level, we could easily do that with a couple tents.
Can we support do a special fundraiser for the 3rd? Because we'll probably need 3 by September for sure, because we've got a lot of fall events.
Well, I think if we start with 2, if we see fundraising and success, let's say by the end of July, I think maybe then we order an additional 1 or 2. And we might fundraise off of that. We might say, here's the events we have. We only have 2 of these, but we have 92 counties. Help us raise money for more.
Definitely support that.
Mr. Rigg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Danny Lundy had an idea in the chat about using the tent. He suggested renting it to the county parties for a very small fee to fundraise for more. He did suggest starting with 1 for state events, but I like the idea of, would it work if we rented it out to the county parties?
That's not a bad idea if we had 1 for state events and then we had another one that we rented out. What do you guys, do you think your district, Mr. Lundy, I would, with the indulgence of the committee, I'd recognize Mr. Lundy to answer some questions. Mr. Lundy, you available?
Sure, what's up?
If you were to rent the pop-up tent from the state party, what would you, on a per day basis, what would you think? Or per event basis, what would be a figure that you think would be worthwhile?
Well, I mean, I would keep it small, like $10 to $25 kind of thing. I mean, it's a super nice tent, don't get me wrong. You could even go a little bit higher, but I wouldn't go any higher than 50. That's going to be a lot for a lot of counties.
If it was like, let's say, if it's a multi-day event, not including the day that it's, being transported and that thing, but like maybe $20 a day.
Sure.
That seems reasonable.
It does to me. If you wanted a really nice tent for a really special event, or you don't have one, that's cheaper than going out and buying one. So
what do you guys think? Mr. Haynes.
What we did through the raffle with our tent, or anytime pretty much we had an event, is the county or counties that was hosting it would get 10% from the district of what was raised in that event. So I don't know if that could be applicable, at a state level, but either like Danny's idea with 25 or that would probably be a good way of funding it.
I'm torn on that. I mean, there was a part of me that wanted to get a portion of your raffle tickets since it is the state party's gaming license, but I thought that would be in bad form. However, 10% of that does sound tasty. It is something to think about, especially for most of the counties. I think maybe a cap of a $25 fee is probably the best way, especially since a lot of these counties are holding their first fundraising events. I'd hate to cannibalize that from them. Miss Avery.
I'm favoring a flat fee, and probably $25 is a good amount. And how about if we waive that fee, if they actually send me photos that we can use on social media and send you a press release? Bribery works.
That's not a bad idea. I'm in favor of that. Okay. So I believe I heard a motion from Miss Avery to get 2 of these pop-up tents for $14.51 a piece. Is that accurate? Is that what I heard?
That is accurate, sir.
Okay, so that's
I'll
been
second.
moved. It's been moved and seconded. Okay, do a roll call vote. I'm going to start in reverse order this time. Mr. Hirsch, District 9.
What are we doing here?
It's a motion to purchase 2 pop-up tents.
The tents, yes, absolutely.
Okay. District 8, Mr. Haynes.
Aye.
District 7, Mr. Williams.
Aye.
District 5, Mr. Nolan.
Abstain.
Are you going for a record, Mr. Nolan? Is there a record that I'm unaware of? The most abstentions in a row?
Just money lately. I'm being the little libertarian here, trying to.
Yeah, but I go out and raise the money so that we can spend it. We got to spend what, I'm going out there specifically to fund these kinds of things. I'd rather stay home.
I don't know that I'm going to get any more people at an event because I got this fancy tent than if I do. So
fair.
That's my thinking.
District 3, Miss Avery.
And we just got $10,000, people. Remember that. We just got $10,000.
Thank you, Evan.
District 2, Ms. Coquillard.
Aye.
District 1, I believe Mr. Pullen is not here. So he is absent. Mr. Hagerman.
Aye.
Mr. Rigg.
Aye.
I was gonna say, I got it right this time. You got to respond.
Oops.
And I don't think it's Jared here. Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall is not here. Vice Chair, Ms. Brenton.
Aye.
Treasurer, Mr. Schulteis.
Aye.
Secretary, Ms. Salgado.
Aye.
And the chair will vote present. So that is 11, or hold on, I guess I should count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is 10 yeses, 1 abstention, and 1 present. So that passes. Thank you, guys. I would like to do more events like what we're doing in Park County. I think that that's important. If there is a county in your district that does not have a lot of people, that does not affiliate it, let's think about that. Let's start planning these events while the weather's warm and nice out. Let's not be waiting until, November or February. Let's try to do these things over the summer and in the fall. So if you have anything, please send it. First, I would suggest sending it to Mr. Rigg with a recommendation to him. He can then look it up and then he can make the pitch to me. And then I can, if need be, get the money from you guys to fund that event. So please go to Mr. Rigg first. You can contact him at field@lpin.org. Okay, affiliation request from Posey County. I can confirm, and I believe the secretary can as well, that we did receive all of the correct and final information from Posey County from their organizing convention. I'm going to ask Mr. Haynes to speak on the Posey County affiliation. Mr. Haynes?
Yes, I believe it was May 23rd that we did it, and it went well. They had all their officers and even a couple people willing to step up and handle media or this or that. They are identifying little local races that will be taking place there, that they are working on a few interested locals who want to run for that. Planning events, probably starting with an easy food drive next month. But yeah, they're also teaming up with Vanderburg a lot, so they've got kind of a big brother there to help them more directly. But between everybody involved in the district, we're looking forward to getting them more active there in Posey County.
And I just to reiterate, because I know I dropped the ball on this before, I did verify and check all of their paperwork to make sure that it was accurate, that it was filed with the state and everything was good. The request that we got was properly formatted and it was sent to both myself and the secretary.
So did he make that in the form of a motion?
Not yet. I don't believe so.
I asked when I submitted the paperwork, I asked that it be added to the agenda, and I'll happily make the motion now to accept the affiliation of Posey County.
And I'll happily second.
It's been moved and seconded. It was moved by Mr. Haynes and seconded by Mr. Nolan. I'm going to do a voice vote. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, move to a voice vote. All those in favor of affiliating Posey County, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. It is unanimous. Congratulations, Posey County. We will eventually one day be able to add you to the map, but that program is not functioning right now and has been turned off. But know in our hearts that we welcome you as an affiliate. Mr. Nana is not here anymore, but we've got time on LNC LPNH, an additional 20 minutes. Oh, there's Mr. Nana. Wow. I say his name and he's in the waiting room. I wanted to give kind of, I was saying I did speak up at the last LNC meeting last night. I did speak up, and basically what I said was that I don't like the messaging coming out of LPNH, but it's not my business. My business is the messaging coming out of Indiana. I don't like their perceived tactics, but it's not my business. That's LPNH. Now, one of the things that was being talked about was there was the rumor that they were going to not run Libertarian candidates and endorse Republican candidates for office. I don't believe in pre-crime. I think that the party is pretty firm. We don't believe in pre-crime. We believe in crime. Well, we believe in punishing crime. We don't believe in punishing people for the perception that they may commit a crime. Punishing people because they might violate the bylaws is not okay. You can't punish people until they've actually done the bad thing. So it's all academic to me unless they actually don't run a Libertarian candidate and then publicly endorse the Republicans. Then it's a different situation. And then I think National probably does have a reason to question that affiliate. I did not like what Ms. Jarvis did by basically, the backstory on it is that she had been doxxed by a member, a very vocal kind of very engaged member who then doxxed her. And when she took it to the XCOM decided that they had had enough and that doxing the chair warranted removal as a member. She didn't speak against it. And this is actually by her own admission as well. She didn't speak against it. She didn't move it out of order. She just abstained from the vote. After they voted, she then used that to say that the board had violated the bylaws and therefore had constructively resigned, which is the term that I am unfamiliar with. And when I asked other learned people about it, it was a term that they were unfamiliar with as well. Sounds like some made up legal bullcrap. I don't think that's appropriate, but it's also not my business. We had a situation, I'm not going to name names or counties or the district, but there was a situation recently here in Indiana where a county party wanted to remove an officer and they were about to do it in the wrong way. And I stepped in and said, that's not the right way to do it. You have to do it this way, and it requires this amount of the membership total of that county, not just the people present, but the total membership to do it. Instead, let's have a conversation with these people and see if we can work it out and see if we can resolve it in an amicable way where people go to their own corners and we find things for other people to do. It was a longer process fraught with emotion. I was ready to just kick people out of the party, and it's probably a good thing that I don't have the authority to do that. And it's worked out okay because we followed our process here in Indiana when that popped up. But it's not my business what happens in New Hampshire. What is my business as your state chair is when the national chair puts forward a motion to disaffiliate that state. Not because it was a political gamesmanship. The chairman knew that motion was not going to pass. He knew it. I think there were 2 votes in favor of it, and his was one of them. It was an attack on that affiliate. And when a motion to disaffiliate is put out like that, it causes questioning the legitimacy, and it's just damaging to that affiliate, whether it's warranted or not. He was punishing them for the things that he saw that he didn't like. And I have a real problem with that, because what if somebody who hates Indiana is the next chair and they just decide they're going to put a motion to disaffiliate, and that hurts us with our members, because now we're drawn into a fight over, are we separated from the national party? And, I found it to be really bad. There was also a motion put forward. I see Mr. Nolan. There was also a motion put forward to remove the secretary. With both Mr. Nana and Mr. Hall, I said that I had supported that motion for a limited reason, and that reason is the secretary has been a toxic force on the committee for years. That is why I ran against her. That was the sole reason. I had no desire to be secretary. It's not a fun job. I ran against her because of that, because of the behavior. And I will recognize you in a second, Mr. Nolan.
Point of information.
Sure.
I don't understand where you're going with all this. We're getting a history lesson, and I don't know where you're wanting to go with this.
Well, you'll find out when I finish speaking, Mr. Nolan. I'm talking about what happened with the LNC and the LPNH and the response from the LPIN. So that was my reasoning for supporting the motion. But I walked back a little bit softer on it and felt that with everything that was going on over the past couple of days, that it would be best to just kind of leave things alone and to encourage people to act better. And for people who aren't going to act better to continue to show that they're not going to act in a professional manner. And those people can then be dealt with after the fact. I'm sure that motion will be brought up again. I do think that the motion was ill-timed and probably not formed well, but I understand it. But so that was my rationale and where I stand on it today. We've had a lot of people asking where we stand on the issue. I think the early part of my statement about LPNH and about disaffiliation not being used as a weapon by the national party are probably where we should stay with that. But I'm open to hearing what other people have to say. Mr. Nolan, you still have your hand up. Did you have more you wanted to say?
Are you wanting to make a motion here, or I mean, I liked what you said at the very first of your speech was I think Indiana should stay out of this stuff. So, are you asking us if we want to stay out of it, or I don't know where we're going with all this discussion, I guess, because I don't feel we should be involved with it. So,
well, we're getting asked.
Got a motion or direction that you're wanting to adhere? I'd be happy to understand that, but the first of your talk was we should stay out of it, and I'd agree with that.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we are being asked. I am getting emails every 15 minutes from our members. I've had county chairs that have asked for us to comment and for them to, they've got their county party members who are asking them questions about where does Indiana stand on this. And my response, I actually talked to Miss Avery the other day because we were receiving messages on Facebook. And my response was something along the lines of, we're monitoring the situation and hope things get resolved. There was more to it than that, wasn't there, Christy? But that was basically the nuts and bolts of it, right?
Pretty much, but I never responded to the person because I asked you to email me that and you never did.
That is a true story. But we're getting those questions, and I want to be able to have direction from this board, so I'm not making a unilateral decision. When I spoke at the LNC meeting last night, while I identified myself as the LPIN chair, I was speaking as Evan McMahon, who is concerned as the chair of an affiliate, not speaking on behalf of the membership. So what I'm saying is I'd like to have a unified message from the state party. Should we be asked, or should we be asked by our region rep what he would like us to do? I'd like to know.
You're asking what I would like you guys to do?
No, I'm saying if you ask me what you would like, what we would like you to do, I'd like it to just not be my unilateral decision.
Understood.
And I'd like to hear from the other members of this board how they feel about what's gone on. So does anybody have any, I'm going to go to, well, first I'm going to ask, is there any other district rep that would like to share their thoughts or feelings? Okay, then I will go to Mr. Hagerman.
Yeah, I would just like to say, if we were having these same issues here, I would appreciate it if other people stayed out of it. So I support you. I don't think we're needed. If you know, and I think anything that we would do, other than say we wish the party best of luck in solving their issues, is really all we can do. And I think it's the only thing that's appropriate.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Rigg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I echo what Mr. Hagerman says as far as with the LPNH, that is their business, and I agree. I mean, you said to me earlier this week when I mentioned something privately about it, and I think that's a wise thing to do, is just not to be involved in it. As for Karen Ann Harlos, I will admit I personally do not support suspending her, simply because the conduct of the rest of the LNC has not been a very good example of professional behavior. And it seems to me that it would smack of hypocrisy to remove her from the LNC without at the same time demanding several other members of that board also resign. I think at this point in time, it would simply be best to wait until next year's national convention. And those who are very much committed to seeing Karen Ann removed from that position, and I personally do support it, we need to rally behind an opposing candidate. And I will add, as a side note, there is already one candidate for LNC secretary, and that is, of course, a man named Tyler Smith. If you want some more information, you can always ask me about him. I know Tyler. I can tell you a little bit about him. So, but that's all I have to say about the LPNH Harlos issue.
And that was why I changed my positioning on the vote to remove, was because it went from being one person acting incredibly bad and a few other people not being great, to essentially the entire committee devolving into a quote shit show of being incredibly toxic and hostile to each other. And I thought, well, you can't. Yes, this particular person has a long documented history of doing that, but if everybody is going to be doing it now, then the rules of decorum don't matter. And until you start treating them like they do matter, then you can't punish somebody for violating the rules of decorum. Either they matter or they don't. You can't just throw them out the window. And I'm very thankful that in all my time in Indiana, I think me and Mr. Nolan have gotten to one heated argument, discussion that I can remember. And even then we like, we pretty much hugged it out afterwards, When we disagree here, we may vehemently disagree with each other. I mean, vehemently disagree. But we're still on the same team at the end of the day. We may disagree, and I want us to, we should be the example for national on, they should come and watch us and see our meetings and see how we operate, even when we disagree. My hope is that they can be better, which is what I've been saying, is they need to be better. And Mr. Smith did come to our previous convention, by the way.
Yes, he
Mr.
did.
Tyler Smith came to Indiana this past time. I do not plan on speaking for or against any candidate for anything national. I think it would be inappropriate for me to endorse or support or state a preference for any candidate other than our region rep. I think it's completely appropriate for us to say who we want as Indiana for a region rep. So take note, Mr. Nana. Mr. Hirsch, you have your hand up, sir.
Okay, my opinion on this whole situation is that as far as the New Hampshire thing, I mean, yes, you had a corrupt state chair, but I think basically the New Hampshire thing is that it's pretty much been settled. That the old people have been restored. It's pretty much done with. As far as Rule of Karen and Harlos, I think everybody is just being too reactionary. They react. I mean, if this New Hampshire thing would not have happened, there wouldn't have been any calls to remove her. And also, she also requested a hearing, and she was denied that. And I think if she wants a hearing, whether it's actually allowed or required or not, I think she should get it. So really, I think really the time to remove her, no. Let the delegates next year decide.
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Is there anybody else that would like to give their thoughts or opinions? So it seems like the marching orders for me going forward is to stick to the same messaging that I said last night and today, which is not my circus, not my monkeys. We're focused here. National should stay out of the affairs of affiliates and not to use disaffiliation as a weapon against an affiliate.
Mr. Chair, may I add one more comment that I'd like to make?
Yes, Mr. Rick.
I also listened in during the meeting last night. I was deeply upset. I was also somewhat disgusted for a variety of reasons, but there were 3 comments made during that meeting, which I appreciated very much. One was from Ryan Graham, the Georgia party chair, asking people not to let what was happening with the LNC get us down. Another was from Dan Fishman, with his message, not to let. Unfortunately, I've forgotten what he said. But the third, and to me the most significant, was your comment asking everyone to be better. I appreciate that very much. I did say thank you in the YouTube chat. I don't know if anyone saw that, but I want to reiterate again my deep thanks to you, Mr. Chair, for your comments last night.
Thank you, Mr. Rick. Appreciate that. Mr. Schulteis.
I'd like to express my appreciation for the professionalism the state party here in Indiana has. My wife has seen me be a part of the Libertarian Party as a national member and state member and officer for a number of years. She's not currently a member of the Libertarian Party. She is on the fence on whether she would want to join. She is, for whatever reason, spent 3 hours yesterday listening to the LNC meeting with me, and she I doubt she would want to be a member of national, but she has attended events here in Indiana and does see that we're not all constant infighting like we often see on the national level. So once again, want to say, well, job well done for us here in Indiana and in much of Region 3, as I understand it.
Over the years, I have been to every state convention with the exception of Alaska and Hawaii. And I can tell you that every state has some level of badness, some level of infighting, some level of personality clashes that we see regularly. No, you're not, Elizabeth, because we have an in-person meeting that day. So those I've seen it, maybe not to the degree of the LNC, although I have seen that in some states. But Indiana is the only state that I see where we treat each other with respect. Even when we disagree, even when we don't like each other, we treat each other with respect. So I am proud of Indiana for that. We are that example to the other states. Because I'm a speaker at that event, Elizabeth, but I'll be doing it remotely because our SCC meeting is. No, I'm not going in person. I'm speaking, but I'm going to be doing it remotely from the Antelope Club when we're done with our meeting.
Well, if I might add one more thing is that,
Yes, Mr. Nolan, go ahead.
You think the old parties have these kind of factions? I mean, my God, the Republicans here in Madison County are literally ripping each other apart here. I mean, there was the state chair actually put a nonprofit organization supporting a candidate that was running against the Republican. So, I mean, that's how evil some of these old party people get. We're mild in what we're doing. I think even as a whole, we do very well, even with our uproaring that's going on. It's probably not as published. They do a lot of their stuff behind closed doors. So I think the whole party is good. I think we need to remember that as we fight.
Something else that I pointed out to somebody else the other day is we have 20,000 members nationally. I think maybe 2/3 of them are familiar in some way with what's going on. So that's less than 20,000 people out of a country of 400 million. And that's something nobody sees this crap going on. It's just us. It's just us on the inside. This is not going to be breaking news on CNN. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen any news reports that the national chairman resigned. But I guarantee you, if the Republican or Democrat national chair resigned, it'd be interrupting news. So, I hope one day our dirty laundry is important enough to be breaking coverage, but it's not right now. So I don't think we've damaged ourselves in the public. I think we've just hurt each other internally. And that we need our board and not our board, but our national party board to be better so that we're not hurting each other. It is the weekend before the 50th gala. Yes. It's not on here, but would the body be opposed to talking about both our July and August meeting for the SCC? Can we talk about that for the next 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'll set the timer.
Thank you. So we don't have a meeting scheduled for July. We did TBA. We never scheduled anything.
I have it scheduled for the 17th remote.
Avery, do you have that?
I have the 17th, but also TBA because we weren't sure what was going to be going on.
Which is what I have. I have 17 TBA because there was a question as to whether or not we were going to have another event that day. But I don't think we're going to have that event. So do we want to do that and do it remotely? Is everybody okay with that?
I would be fine with doing it remotely.
Oh, yeah, it'd be great.
Okay.
As long as it's remote.
Okay. With no objection, we will schedule our next meeting is for July 17th, remote. Same bat time, same bat channel. August, which is in person at the Antelope Club. We moved it because it was Christy Avery's birthday to,
The gal was that weekend.
yes, which is also Christy's birthday. So we moved it to the week before, which I believe is August 20th. Is that right?
I thought it was 21st.
It probably is the 21st.
Whatever that Saturday is.
Let's look here, August. Yeah, it's the 21st, which is also the LP Ohio convention, state convention. And we've just heard that Mr. Hirsch and Elizabeth are going to be attending that. I am slated to speak at it, which I agreed to that prior to us rescheduling. I've since requested it being remote for me to be able to speak, but my speaking slot is at like 2:00. So we'd be in a hurry to get out of there. Is there any desire to reschedule or move that date of August 21st? Okay, Miss Avery does, because I think you're planning on going to LPO too, aren't you?
Nope, I'm in Chicago that day.
Okay. Mr. Rigg?
Yes, I think it would probably be better just for the sake of convenience to reschedule so that you're not in a hurry as far as preparing to give your remarks for the Ohio convention. I personally don't have, I personally would be free, I'm sure for, no wait, that's not right, I forgot. I was thinking August 14th, but that's the day of the District 3 Super Saturday event, so.
Yes.
But that being said, I still would not object to rescheduling.
I'm going to take a bold idea here. What if we did a remote meeting during the week in the evening and limited it to 2.5 hours in the evening, like on a Wednesday, and then changed our September meeting to in person? Because I one of the things that Mr. Nolan says consistently, and I do agree, is that we need to meet as often as possible in person. I think that's Mr. Nolan who says that. I know Mr. Hirsch says it too. And I do agree with that. And so that would be 3 remotes in a row. And that would be 4 if we met in September remotely as well. That's a lot of remotes. So I would say, what if we made the August meeting to, I'm gonna bring up my calendar here.
August 25th.
Yeah, let's say August 25th at, we're all on Easter. Oh, Christy says no. Why is that, Christy?
The 4th Wednesday is the Allen County Business Meeting at 7 p.m.
Okay.
I was also going to suggest, why not have the meeting in District 3 on Super Saturday? Remember long time ago in the days of yore when we used to actually meet across the state and not just in Indianapolis?
Yeah, but that's really inconvenient for me.
Oh, that's so sad.
Actually, I'm not opposed to that.
That I agree with
to be there anyways.
Okay, I will tell you this, that we probably won't be able to have any remote participation. It will need to be a physical in-person meeting then. Because we can't guarantee internet access to wherever we're going to be.
I can set up a place for us to meet in District 3.
She's taken over everything. Now it started with Kosciuszko County, and now it's the entire district.
I worked there, I lived there, I have family there. Everything is in Kosciuszko, so I do have access to a couple buildings with internet access.
Okay, perfect. Then that would work. What do you guys think? Mr. Nolan, would you be in favor of that? August 14th in person with the remote availability in Kosciuszko County?
So the in-person would be in Kosciuszko?
Correct.
Looks okay for right now.
Okay. Mr. Williams?
I'm gonna have to take a look at my schedule. My wife works that weekend, so I'm gonna have to see if maybe her parents could watch the kid.
Okay. Mr. Hirsch?
Oh, I'm good with it.
Okay. Mr.
I'll be-
Schultheis?
What weekend is that?
The 14th of August.
As far as I know, that should be fine.
Okay.
Long trip for Greg.
I'm sorry?
A long trip for Greg.
It is, but he likes to make those kind of trips.
I don't mind road trips. I'm good with it.
Isn't Roadman like actually in your email address or something like that?
Yes, in my personal email it is. Yes. I guess, Mike, are you okay with that type of road trip in your end?
Who'd you ask, Micah? I don't think Micah's here anymore. I think he dipped out for the rest of his thing. Worst case scenario, people can participate remotely. Elizabeth says she can get us a space where what I'll do is I'll set up my big computer so that we can do it that way. So our meeting would still be at the same time, 10:30 start time. What time is the event going on in Kosciuszko? Elizabeth?
We haven't pinned down a time yet, but we were definitely thinking afternoon / evening. So we could totally do our meeting beforehand.
So I would recommend that we try to make it a brief meeting. And we just, we ask the LNC not to do anything controversial prior to that meeting.
So moved.
And let's is anybody opposed to just removing district reports and just doing them written from that August agenda? Okay. And then I will try to keep everything else off, or if it's non-controversial, to just do it via email ballot if something pops up. So we can just try to keep our agenda for that day as light as possible. So I'm gonna, all those in favor of moving the August meeting to an in-person meeting on August 14th in Kosciuszko County at a location to be determined, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Okay, it passes. If you can lock down a place as soon as possible, Elizabeth, that would be great.
Will do.
And then that one, just communicate directly with me on that so that I can get it scheduled and put out to everybody. And then the rest of the district stuff coordinate with, or the rest of the event stuff coordinate between you and Christy and Morgan. Okay, so thank you guys for taking on that topic real quick. Here's the rest of my notes. Judicial Committee. I'm not putting this motion forward today. I'm putting this together as a discussion. I do want to move this at our next meeting or something similar to it. I have primed the well a little bit here. I asked a couple of people if they would consider serving on it, should they be appointed by the SCC, because as it states in the motion, if it's completely vacant, the SCC can fill it. I asked Mark Rutherford and Joe Houtman some of the other names that they had suggested. And I reached out to Tim McGuire, but have not heard back from him yet. But some of the other names that were suggested were Tanya Millis, not Lucy Britton. God, no, not Lucy Britton. Rebecca Sink-Burris.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
Phil Miller, if he's able and willing. And Mike Cole. Those were some of the names. There, Donna Dunn from up north. Those were some of the names, but those were people that we might be interested in serving on it. They're very rational people. They think things through. They're very familiar with their bylaws, and they've been in the party long enough. So that was I'm not moving this motion today. I'm just wanting us to consider it, to review it. I will have this on the agenda for our next meeting, where I will be asking for it to be either amended and moved or moved as is. This is an issue that has, it was one of the very first things that I thought was, there's a chink in our armor. What if the county that I was talking about earlier had done it the wrong way? And the officer that had been inappropriately removed wanted to appeal. We have no process for that. We would just say, well, man, that sucks. All we could do is move to disaffiliate them as a punishment. What if there are things that happen here in the state committee? You know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So I took some time to craft this and to specifically limit where the judicial committee would have authority if a founded complaint was brought to them. This is the area that they could review and deal with. So I encourage everybody to take a look at it. We can have a discussion about it now if you want, but I would ask you to take a look at it over the next couple of weeks, make some suggestions, get them back to me. Let's get some feedback. But this will definitely be on the agenda at our next meeting. Mr. Rigg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let you know that Dorn made a suggestion for another possible member for a judicial committee, Susan Bell.
She will not serve. Susan Bell wants to be completely retired, and the only reason why she is still a judge is because we cannot put anybody else into that seat now, because under the law now, it does require you to be a lawyer. And so the moment she is out of that position, we will not be able to get that seat again unless we have a lawyer who runs for it. She's also runs completely unopposed. So as long as she doesn't have to do anything, she'll stay in it. But the moment any of that changes, she's done. She doesn't really want to be doing it. She doesn't want to do anything. I would love for her to be on it, but there's just no way she's going to. I saw somebody else with their hand up, I believe, but I went back down.
That was me.
Oh, Mr. Schulteis, did you have something you wanted to add?
I don't have a problem with Tanya Millis, but I was wondering if she met the 4-year criteria of being a member.
I believe so. I think so.
As a candidate, she seems relatively recent.
So here's the interesting thing is I do believe she was a national party member first. But under our rules at the time, that constituted state party membership. So I would apply that and say that during that period, that would have constituted membership. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
And I believe that's accurate. Does anybody else have any questions or comments about the proposal? Just, does anybody think that it's absolutely unnecessary and we don't need it at all? Nope. Okay, cool. Want to move on to the next topic? Okay. The next thing on the agenda is the member request for the LPCT vote. District 2 Rep Elizabeth Coquillard was sent an email by a member who is actually a state party member, asking for the LPIN to either sign our name to the Connecticut resolution or to draft a resolution similar to. I will also say that I had a follow-up conversation with this member during the Zoom chat that I had on Thursday night with some of our members, and said that I would be speaking against it, as I didn't think it was, one, going to be necessary because at least part of it was already resolved, and two, we just want to stay out of it unless it's something to do with how National treats an affiliate. That's it. And they understood that. But I said that we would present it and we would discuss it, and that I would do whatever the board instructed. So with that, Ms. Coquillard, would you like to discuss the resolution and the request by the member?
Well, you already summed it up, the email. Basically, he just asked us to discuss, review, and put it to a vote to add the LPIN's name to the list of states that have signed on to the Connecticut resolution in response to the LNC's involvement in the LPNH situation. And his concerns were pertaining to our state's data protection or being protected. And he was not the only member that has gotten a hold of me this week about this. But I do feel like we as a state are taking the steps that we need to. And we've already discussed this, so I'll open the floor.
Okay. Lucy, what's our time left on this topic?
7.5 minutes.
Okay. I can pontificate for 7.5 minutes. Mr. Nolan.
Are you wanting to take a vote on this? I guess
Only-
we discussed and came to a consensus. I guess we didn't vote on it. Is it your opinion that we should vote on this?
I do not believe that a vote is necessary on this. I would entertain one if one was requested. If a motion was put forward, it would be within order. I am not offering such a motion. I believe we have reached consensus on our messaging for the LPIN and the direction for our region rep. And so my intent was to run the clock out on this, hoping there would be no motion. Ms. Avery, did you have something you wanted to say? Yes.
Going for that button before I even hit it. Just looking it over, I think a lot of the issues in it have already been kind of resolved themselves. And it starts out with, these are the facts that we know, which, wow, now LPN Nationals need to investigate because they already know all the facts, which we don't know all the facts. So just on that alone, I'm like, no.
It was actually one of the comments that was something that I commented on that I don't like. I would not want to sign, and I would discourage putting our name on something that says these are the facts, because they're not. They're perceptions of the facts. I also am not particularly a fan of instructing or threatening to remove our region rep for failing to do a thing that we demand that they do. We are in a region with 3 other states. And so demanding that we direct, instruct, and order our region rep to do a thing, I'm not okay with. Request, absolutely. Demand, instruct, and order, I'm not okay with that language. And I would heavily want to edit this if we were, even at the time, going to do something. I would discourage us from signing our name to it and instead passing our own tailored resolution in a manner becoming of the LPIN. But 90% of this has been resolved. I think the only thing that's remaining is they have adopted the language for the investigatory committee. They just haven't populated it yet, which they're going to do tonight. So how are we doing on time, Lucy? Mr. Nolan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I move we move on to the next order of business.
Okay.
4 minutes.
Without objection, hearing no objection, the next item on the agenda is announcements. Are there any announcements from the membership? Mr. Lundy, do you have any upcoming events in Morgan County that you'd like to pimp out?
Recorded, you know.
Mr. Hirsch, what time does the event start on July 10th in Bedford, Indiana?
It begins at 12:30 p.m.
Do you know where the starting location is for it?
It's I can't remember. It's in downtown Bedford. I can't remember the exact name of the. Actually, I'll get with Darren about that. Darren Kinzer. There's a name, a little area downtown where had a name to it, but shit, I can't off the top of my head. I can't remember.
It's listed on the Facebook page. It's like Harlan Park or something, or Harts Park, something
Yes,
with an H.
yes. And the announcement's posted on Facebook. It does have it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any other announcements? Okay, hearing no announcements, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Rigg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Evan.